Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules to join us today. My name is Jim Henderson, and for the next 45 minutes, I will be taking you through the use of many of the cabinets and symbol tools within SoftPlan for creating a custom kitchen. I have already a house on the screen at this point. You may recognize it as the one from the splash screen when you're starting SoftPlan version 2022. And this is the house that already has a kitchen in it that I want to go in and maybe redesign or at least offer an option, an alternative option to what is there. Over the course of the next 45 minutes, I will be moving at a pretty good pace, but I will be recording the class. And sometime next week, once we clean it up a little bit, we'll upload it to our YouTube channel. We'll give the link on our socials, so you'll be able to go back and review some things. Because there's so much information to go through, and for those of you who have been through a Friday Fundamental in the past, it's often best to watch what we're doing, maybe take a few notes, etc., and then go back and review the video next week. I don't tend to take a lot of time to answer questions during the teaching phase of things, although towards the end, we'll see if there are any questions before we close up. I just know that 45 minutes goes very, very quickly. This is SoftPlan version 2022. It's the new release that came out this year. And if you're looking at this, one of the number one things that I would encourage you to do is to operate your system in what is using the SoftPlan or the DX12 renderer, okay, DirectX 12. Now, your video card would need to support this. So if you go to the options and click on this, this is grayed out, the DX12. It just means your video card does not support it, and you're not going to get necessarily all of the options in terms of how shadows and reflections and real-time animation, its response to your selections on the software as immediate. Okay, some of the lighting will be different in DX11 versus the 12. So I would just encourage you to take a look at that as far as your card is concerned, and maybe something that if you're not getting the DirectX 12, you'll see what it can do today, and then perhaps look to upgrade that. One of the things that it does very, very well right off the bat is the lighting. And while we're going to be dealing with a kitchen, I'm definitely looking at this from the outside. And you'll see that as I'm working with this and I go into the sun options at this point, and I begin to just literally go through and change the times, okay, the shadows and so on immediately begin to update on the fly. This will also work as I'm moving through the model. Today I'll be working in textured mode, okay, and so as I take my camera and begin to move within the actual model itself, you will see that how things regenerate on my screen may be quicker than what they are on yours, as well as things like reflections, etc. The feedback is basically instantaneous within the software. And so at this stage here, this is the initial kitchen that we have. Now, as I open up into the main floor plan, okay, I wanted to show you what I have for an existing kitchen right now, okay, that's there. And I'm going to make use today of what are called building options. And that may be something that some of you are familiar with, and maybe I'm introducing something that you haven't been using. But in the status bar in the upper right-hand corner, when I click on where it says Kitchen Layout Number 1, you will see that I have a Kitchen Layout 1, and I actually have one called 2. And in both cases, they have a number of items that are being used, okay? One is enabled, number 1, and one is turned off. And so as I come in here and turn off Kitchen Layout Number 1, you can see that basically the kitchen in its entirety, anything that was assigned to that building option is now removed from the drawing. Now, this is important to note because it's when you remove something from the drawing, it takes it out of the model, it takes it out of the bill of materials. Okay, so in this case here, all of my lighting is gone. The window that was, over top of the kitchen sink is removed, et cetera, et cetera. So none of that is going to be calculated as part of the model. Therefore, it would not be estimated as part of the bill of materials. So for those of you who are offering multiple kitchens or multiple roof designs and front elevations, building options is a way to go because you can have one model and just simply turn on and off what you want calculated. So in this case here, I could come down to kitchen layout number 2. I'm going to enable it. And at this stage now, it turns on what the new kitchen is going to look like that I've designed. And this is what I'm going to be designing with you as an alternative to the other one that's there. Okay. And so I just, setting these up is simply a matter of saying, okay, in my case, building option number 6 will become my new kitchen layout that I'm going to design within. And then I will teach you all of the tools. Okay. And I use this on this very same model. If I were to come back into the main floor plan, and you can see it's now, showing in the screen, and I have it color coded. Okay. Which we can talk about. But I'm also doing the same thing with the garage in the rear. And so in this case here, right now, there's a 2-car garage that exits, towards the top of the screen or into the rear of the plan. And as I scroll down, those same building options can be set up where I have both a 2-car and a 3-car. And in this case here, when the auto option is turned on, as opposed to a manual setting, as one is turned on, the other will turn off. And you can see at this stage, I automatically now have a 3-car garage versus a 2-car garage, which will be reflected in my elevation. Here's my 3-car from one side. Here it is from the other side. And then as I come in and turn that off, the other one will turn back on. The model will regenerate. And at that stage, I will be back to a 2-car garage, being shown in the plan. Okay. And so, here we are with the 2-car, looking at it from the left-hand side, the 2-car, and looking at it from the right-hand side, the 2-car. Okay, so we'll be doing this with the kitchen. So what I want to do is I want to come in and as I'm looking at this, we'll be designing basically the outside perimeter that will include a double oven, refrigerator. Okay, we'll put in a because instead of putting a range in here, I'm actually going to put a cooktop, which will teach us a little bit about heights of cabinets and so on. You see, I've got a custom cabinet listed up here, one that's got glass, and then we're putting a secondary cabinet on top of that because the wall heights allow for that. And then even the island, as we have time, we'll play around with having it a different color than maybe the outside perimeter where we're running white here and gray in the middle. So setting up a building option is nothing more than coming down here, and I'm just going to click in the building option, 6, okay, and I'm just going to type in here what my new, option is going to be. And so at this stage, I will just simply type kitchen layout 3, which is in essence going to be number 2, but I'm just redrawing it from scratch. I'm going to turn off number 2 so that it goes away, if you will, and we're down to a blank screen, if you will, and I'm going to turn number 3 on, and you'll see that I have it highlighted, okay, so that everything draws within that building option. Now, as I move, over, I'm going to lock kitchen layouts 1 and 2. By locking, that means as I move things around, I can't accidentally move something that is not being visibly shown on the screen at this time. Okay. And as I move left to right, I can select the use item colors, and you'll see that kitchen 1 and 2, I have them color coded where I've got kind of this, deep red for the kitchen 1, and then I have more of a tealy blue for kitchen number 2. And so if I remove the checkbox on kitchen 3, I could draw this entire kitchen using kind of that burnt orange, color coding, so that on screen, depending as I flip through this, I'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay. So with that set, and I'm going to do this within the floor plan for most of my drawing, okay, I'm going to zoom down to where my kitchen is, and I can see here in kitchen number 3 that that's where I'm going, or what I'm going to be drawing, going forward. Now, as I begin to draw this, I will be doing a lot of flipping between 2D and 3D. Traditionally, I have multiple monitors on my desktop, so as I draw in one, I can view it in the other monitor, but that's not going to be the case today. So what we'll do is we'll start by going to draw, and we'll select cabinet. Now, most of you probably have drawn some amount of cabinets. You have the base cabinets, you have the upper cabinets or wall cabinets, and we also have a host of manufacturers that are listed in there, right? And so here you have your listing of manufacturers, and I'm not manufacturer specific on this right now, so I'm really just looking for a tall cabinet that's going to play the part of where I can put the double ovens, okay? And in time, what I can do is once I have drawn that in, I can always go in and modify that and change it, to whatever I want it to be. And so you can see here, I find, let's say the, OCD 30, it's 8 feet in height, 96, and then position my cursor I wish to draw, click, and insert it. Now, at this stage right now, it's using this color, okay, here as what we're actually using. Okay, so that's a little bit. I maybe want it to be a little brighter or something else. I want, as far as, so I'm going to change it to blue maybe, and I'll just simply click OK, and have that drawn in on the plan. So as I begin to draw with this now at this, and I know what I've got this in I'm going to put this in the default layer. Okay, so that we're drawing in the default, because what I've done is as I edit this cabinet, I'll just take you through this right now. So as I edit this cabinet and it brings a dialog up, as I go to common, you'll see that it's being stored in building option number 3. And here I'll simply change this to the default layer so that it's no longer in the furniture layer, which is why some of my furniture is faded, and this I'd rather not have it faded. Okay, so again, just flipping between the two options. Layers control whether or not something is seen in plan, but it will always show up in 3D. Okay, so you can control a layer and turn it off so that it no longer is seen, but it would still view in 3D. Okay, and then building options is really how is the model built. Okay, and so in this case here, I can come in and select what the color is that we're going to use, as I've said. Okay, and once I pick that color, remove the use item color so that it's color coded on the screen, and here we see the light blue. Okay, so as I continue with this, okay, I'm going to come in through draw and symbol, and I'm just going to do a search for let's say Gen Air, okay, as being my manufacturer that I'll use today. Okay, and so as I come into this listing of manufacturers, we've got our different ovens that are here, and so I can select a wall oven, and of course I'm looking for something that's a 30-inch in width. This is a double oven, and once again drawing it inside kitchen number 3 as far as the layer is concerned. Okay, I can click to add that in, and as I look at this inside 3D, it's going to begin to build that model for me. And so as we flip back and forth between the plan, kitchen layout number 3, that building option is now being built as part of this model. And once we've done the first build, things will begin to show up here and be more readily available for editing both in 2D and 3D. Okay, I'll just get this up here and then we'll carry on. And what I may do is I may turn down a few of my options going forward for right now that I don't need to be generating. Things like reflections. I mean, do I, while they're nice to have, that's typically something towards more the end of the model that we want to play with, and have shown in the drawing. Okay, so as I begin to move in and zoom in on this and pull it up here, okay, and of course one of the things that we don't have any lighting in here, which would certainly help expedite or ease how we can see things in the model. So as I come into mode options right now, and I could do an auto light sources, and you can see just clicking that from within the lighting is going to make things appear just a little bit easier. I can also, either using move or the edit, move this into place, okay, where I want this to be seen. Okay, as far as relative to the actual cabinet itself. So those are different things that you can do, turning up the lighting and obviously, moving things, within the plan, on the fly as far as the design is concerned. I'm going to open up into my options for just a second and lower a little bit the anti-aliasing, which is trying to create the more realistic image for me right away. And what I will do is inside the main floor plan here, I can right click and then determine what I want to do with the edit. So I'm going to edit the cabinet from this option right here. And as I edit the cabinet, I just want to take you into a little bit of the view on it right now. So you can see currently this is all of the dimensions according to the product code. Okay, and as I come into the face option, okay, if I turn off the product code here, I can now change what that panel is going to look like in terms of butt, face, frameless, etc. Okay, and you can even go in and customize, how that cabinet is built. And we will do a little bit of that in a little bit on this. Okay, so as I'm going through and as I'm modifying this, the one thing I'm going to do is click on the cabinet face, and we're going to go with more of a square face panel. And so when I do that, it will update the three-dimensional model. Okay, and then as we take a look at this inside 3D, it will pull it up for us automatically. All right. And so I'm going to, at this point, just come in and I need to, edit this. And I'm going to drop the oven just a little bit as far as its height's concerned, because we can see it's obviously, too high. Okay. And then I can also pull it out from the cabinet as well, so that we can have that change, applied to the model itself. And so here I would just come in through the move option and move this out. Now, as we go forward, I'm going to, do a lot of, drawing and changes, and then we'll kind of pop back into the model back and forth. So I'm going to come in through the symbol, and I'll go back into the Gen Air, and I'm just looking for a refrigerator, right? And so here I can just scroll down looking for something that will fit, what we're doing. And so once I have, this cabinet or this refrigerator here, I'll just position the cursor where it's to be placed, and SoftPlan's bump technology will snap it into that corner automatically for me. Okay, I can do a quick dimension if necessary, turning on symbol dimension between these two items to see exactly how much space that I have, so that as I'm building the cabinets between these, I'll know, what room I've got. And so in this case here, I will simply come in through draw cabinet, and we're going to now go through and build, kind of, some cabinets around the refrigerator, as well as, kind of a coffee bar area that's going to be there. So I will select here that we're going to use a tall cabinet, and I'm going to change the width on this to maybe 2.5 inches, just to get something a little, more robust. I'm going to make it 24 inches in depth. And I know that, this cabinet over here is 8 feet. So I'll type in a 96-inch height, and I'm just going to position and click to draw that cabinet in. And you can see that, the cabinet is placed beside it. It is labeled. All right. And so going forward, I've got, kind of a wall on one side and a cabinet on the other, and eventually we'll put an upper cabinet above it. Leaving this open, I can come back to the base. I can now select, let's say, a 12-inch cabinet. I can select the standard face layout at this stage. And from here, I could pick that I want, a door and drawer, a set of drawers, whatever I may want on that. And then once I've selected that as my option, I'm going to, click to insert that in, and it snaps to it. Okay, I'll return to this cabinet right here, and I could select, let's say, a 24-inch. This time I'll go with a set of drawers, okay, and click to insert it in. And at any time I can go to miscellaneous and explode, and I could, click on these cabinets, and I could see, exactly what they look like. Okay, and then using the draw select, I could add another, here. Now I'm just going to stretch or adjust the interior cabinet to fit, and I'll run a cleanup in there. And so as I pop back into the 3D to take a look at this, okay, it will build the model with the refrigerator on the left-hand side. It's going to have the row of cabinets in the middle for me there, okay, and I'll have that one panel on the right-hand side. And so here we have it. What I've drawn so far. So I would come back into the main floor plan, and again, now coming in through draw cabinet and wall, okay, I'm going to just simply select a 36-inch. I'm going to want to make this 24 inches in depth because it's going over the refrigerator here. Okay, and I want the top height to be 96. So that's basically to the measurement from the floor to that cabinet there. And then I can just simply click to draw it in. Now, as I take a look at this inside 3D, okay, it will, again, update the model here, and I'll be able to see, where that cabinet is in terms of its height. And obviously it's too tall because I've got this in here. Now I can just simply do an edit from here and change the height, or I can even use the adjust feature like I did when I stretched the drawer cabinets to fit. And so once I've edited this cabinet, here I can see the height, and I could now just come in and key that in at, let's say, 24 inches. Okay, it keeps the same, measurement to top of ceiling. And then as I click OK, it's going to, recalculate that and rebuild that for me. All right, so that's, we're just basically building our cabinets as we go. All right, now I'm not sure where that one goes. I'm just going to erase that outlet out of there, but it probably belonged with one of the two building options that I've turned off. And so, I'll just, I'll remove that for right now. Okay, I had a window over top of this, where they're in kitchen number one. What we're really going to do is we're going to put a French door in here, and then we'll build the cabinets off of that. And so again, I can do that from within both 2D as well as 3D, where you can come in through draw opening. Okay, here I could just go to exterior door and let's say French, and then pick from the lists that are there, a 32, whether I want to have grills or just a glass door, okay, in this case, and then I'll just simply click to have it inserted into the wall. Once that's in place, that will also help me with where, my cabinets are going to go, along this wall on the plan. And so again, whether I'm, in this case, I want to, just move it, okay, or dimension it. And here, once I've drawn it in, because I drew it in 3D, I can always edit this door after the fact, and then into the display option, I could actually reverse the hinge side so that it's going to swing where the base cabinet is located. All right, again, coming back to our draw cabinets, we'll run our run of cabinets across the back side here. And then once we've done that, we'll be able to go in and modify things like heights and so on them. So I'm just going to come in and open up my base cabinets, and I'll start with the 24-inch. And this time it defaults to the previous drawer that I had. So I'm just going to go with a, door and drawer panel that's there and click OK. I'll leave this open and then simply position the cursor to click to start. And then I could come to, the same thing, and once again, go back to having some drawers, on either side, still a 24-inch, click. I just simply need to be close, and when I snap, with the second click, the two will join together. The 36-inch is just going to be two doors because we're actually going to remove the countertop on this and eventually put a cooktop there. And so, using the Control E to explode and then the letter S, which is the same as picking Draw Select, I can now just click to add this one in and this one in on the other side. And I now have a run of cabinets that are running, straight across here between the French door and this window here. Opening it up in 3D, I'll be able to go in and do an edit. Now, as I, pull this around, and you can see what we've got there, okay, as far as our cabinets are concerned, this is where we're going to place the range. We'll put a hood, and then we'll put some, glass counters over top, etc. Okay, as far as that goes. So what I will do is I will, inside the main floor plan, okay, explode and edit the cabinet in the middle. And on this cabinet, as I edit this, I can come in here because it's exploded. It modifies as an individual unit. I can tell it to take or turn off the countertop. And then I can go to the individual height of this cabinet, which is currently, 34.5, and let's say lower it by 6 inches or so, okay, so that it's a little bit lower on that. And now using the draw, and again, I'm just dealing with one manufacturer for the most part today, okay, but I'll be able to go in and just simply find the cooktops that are there, and it will load up a showing for them. So in this case here, I can then scroll down looking for a 36-inch style cooktop that we want to use, and then position it in place and drop it in. Okay, again, all of this is being drawn in Kitchen Layout 3 so that if I want to go back and review Kitchen 1 versus 2 versus 3, it's just a checkbox down at the bottom to turn those on. Okay, and so as I take a look at this inside 3D, you'll see this cabinet is now lower. Okay, we're going to have a cooktop that's going to be placed in there as it updates the scene. And again, depending on how much space we want here, we could make the cabinets, this one a little bit narrower and match it on this side, and so on. Okay, so that's where we're at this point. Similarly, on the other side, we're going to create an island, and so for all intents and purposes, I just want to have a 36-inch cabinet that mimics where this is right here. So I would come in through my draw cabinet, and I would once again, I'm going to pick my width that I want, and I'm going to go and locate one that's a couple of doors, but has like a drawer or a flat sink panel on it, right? And I'll click OK to draw this, and I'm going to hit the F11, which is my projection snap feature. So you have an icon for this, which is up here, and you can turn it on, or you can just simply hit F11. But when it's turned on, you'll see that little dotted line running horizontally on the screen. It's projecting the snap to the center point of that object, which in this case is the cabinet on the other side. So I can position and click to draw that in, knowing that these two are now centered one with the other. Okay. Now I'll worry about, this aisle in a minute and how far apart that is. I just wanted to make sure I got that snapped in there. Okay. And again, in a similar way to what I did, earlier, I may come in and using the draw select, add a couple of symbols, on either side of this. Okay. Just to basically, build that out. And so I'll do another one here. And finally, once I've got that to that point, using the dimension feature and turning on my symbol dimension, I'll now be able to either dimension between the cabinets or between the range top and the island in this case, and key in that we want, let's say a 45-inch hallway there between the two to give plenty of room, and then select the right arrow key to move that. Okay, you can also modify it from here. Just change the dimension if you want, and click the right arrow key and move it. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here, and I've got too many dimensions going on at this point. So I'll, run a cleanup on all of this, and then I'm just going to edit this, and we'll turn that, type that dimension in, and I want to move all of them, okay, and position it into place. So you can see there is my run of, cabinets at this point, running across. Because I started with the center point, everything aligns, okay, automatically for me. Now, as I'm looking at this island right here and I do an explode, okay, just to see where everything is, I'm going to edit this cabinet on the right-hand side so that I and replace it with the dishwasher. So as I edit the cabinet, I can come in here and select replace cabinet. And when I do that, it pulls this option up. Now I can just do a, search for dishwasher, and it's going to, pull all of them up, or I could do a search by manufacturer, okay, and drill down to exactly, what it is that I want, right? So in this case here, if I were to go to the SoftPlan Plus, there you can find your Bosch, or we've been using, Gen Air and so on, if we're trying to get everything to match, completely through this. And I'll click OK to have it inserted into that panel right there. So the cabinet now becomes, just sides and top, and the dishwasher slides in. Same thing, you can use the search option where you come in through draw symbol. And here I might just type in apron, okay? And what I'm looking for is an apron sink. All right. So while it's called by a manufacturer, symbol that's in here, embedded within the symbols to help you with the search is the ability to type in what it is you're looking for. And then you can pick from this, library based on dimensions and so on. And then, click to insert that. Okay. Now, in this case with the apron sink, I'm just going to move it forward so that it overhangs the edge. And as we, position ourselves inside 3D, we'll be able to zoom around and take a look at that quickly, to see, where our sink is, where our dishwasher is, etc. Okay. And so there is what we have thus far, based on what we're building. So again, I'll want to place some sort of faucet on here, and I could do that from within that cabinet where I edit the cabinet itself. And, in addition to being able to add a sink or replace a cabinet, you can now select the tap option. And here I could just simply type in faucet as what I'm looking for. We can go down into the manufacturer, and we could, scroll to find something that we want to use, and then click OK and have the faucet dropped atop the actual countertop that's there. Okay. Now, this is an island that I want to, have, bar stools can pull up to it. And so that's something that, we can within the floor plan also, delineate here. And so in this case here, I'll just simply come in through, my draw cabinet and pick my base. And I'm just going to pick, it's a 24-inch, and I'm just going to put some doors on the back side of it, something like this for looks. And I'm actually just going to change the depth to 12 inches. And so now as I, click, I'm just adding this on the back side as, kind of a panel, and I'll add a 36 here just to, mimic that one. And I'll say yes to, well, let me add the 36 in first. and I'll say, no, I just want to have it drawn, and then we'll go back to the 24 and add it on the end right there. And then as I edit this cabinet right here, I could then modify, it to actually have a specific, overhang and so on. Okay. The other thing that we could do is we could, modify or take this and if you wanted to create a custom counter on here, is I could come in and turn off the countertop altogether. And so as I turn that off, and I'll do a repeat edit over here, now what you can do is, and I'll just, adjust this just a little bit to get that all the same size. And once again, turn the countertop off on that because it, by default turned it back on. And so now what you can do is you can come in and freeform trace something. Okay, so you could come in, you can see at this stage, here it is, and I'm just going to re-edit these back to the 12-inch depth that I had so that I can freeform, a little bit. When I adjusted it, it reset the default. And then we'll freeform something in there and place some legs and so on as well, beneath it. So I'm just changing the depth on this to be 12 inches. And then I'll do a repeat edit across some of these here and even my little fillers that are there. Okay. And so now what I can do is I can come in through the draw, cabinet, and countertop. And when I do this, now I'm free forming. So I'm going to, obviously overhangs are controlled by me. Okay. But I could, specify this, to have a specific, overhang that's there, so that can be dimensioned. But I also can then use tools to come in and do things like, curve fillets on this, or if I wanted to chamfer the corner on this and just say, okay, and we're going to make that, say, 6 inches, so it's not quite so sharp on the corner there, and just do things like that with the freeform countertop. Okay, it'll still cut out for the sink and so on, and gives you kind of that sort of freedom that's going to be on there. Okay, it can also be adjusted and so on, so I can always come in and adjust something like this, and stretch it out, as opposed to having having to put a cabinet underneath there. Okay, so that's something that you can do, and all of this is once again taking place inside the number 3 option that's there. I'm going to come in and add a couple of wall cabinets because I want to take a moment to modify those and add a cabinet above them. And so I'll come in here through draw and cabinet, and I'm just going to select a wall cabinet here. And I can now come in and select, it's 24 inches, which is fine, but I want to change what the panel looks like, and maybe just add a 2-door glass or 2-door glass with grill. Okay, and so once I have done this, I can also specify, as you know, all of the dimensions and so on, right? So I can make this 42 inches, okay, in terms of the height is concerned. The F11 will allow me to snap it underneath, or excuse me, over top of the cabinet, centering it there. And so if I come into 3D and regenerate it, I'll have a wall cabinet there and one here, which will go in and modify and change, the faces on it, okay? So as I do that, and I'll just pop this around something like so. Okay, we can see by changing the actual height. I'll also need to change the offsets on this in just a minute. So I'm going to edit this cabinet right here and just take a look at it. And so as it pulls the properties up for the wall cabinet, okay, we can change that offset to say 54 inches, which will push the elevation up, okay, a little bit. And I can also come into the face, and I could actually come in here and add a custom face to this. Okay, so as I do this, it pulls this option up right here, and you can see this is what it looks like. And now I could add a new part to this. And so in this case here, I'm just going to simply select a single door on this option, and it places a door here. Now I could select that I want this to be a glass door, and of course dimensionally what it's doing is it's adjusting both of these to the actual height that I've input to the wall cabinet and kind of splitting the difference. So I'm just going to fix this one, and I'm going to say, let's just make this one 12 inches. Now I could do as far as the cabinet handle and where that's going to be, I could reverse this so, it's on this, the other side. And so as I click OK, all right, the cabinet is now going to be regenerated. We can see what it looks like here. And so as it regenerates on the actual model itself, we're going to have a cabinet that's actually got, a door above it. And again, I can edit this and I can modify that and change the height and move it around. As I do change that height on this, so if I change this to say 54 inches, okay, and we'll change this to, let's say 104 inches and just move it up, what's going to happen is it will change the height of the lower cabinet because the top one has been fixed. Okay, so that's kind of an automatic feature because that's how I defined it within the model. All right, and then I could just simply do a duplicate command and pick this cabinet right here. And once I have done that, I can select OK and apply that same change to the cabinet on the right-hand side. And so now both of them will be, the same cabinet, so to speak, okay, as far as the having the extra cap panel above it on the model. Now, it's probably going to come up with the door on the right-hand side, and I would just simply edit that and change, as far as this panel is concerned now. So a simple edit of this, and then I'll go into the face, edit the custom face, turn off the horizontal, which moves this back over to this side here, and we've got something like so. Okay, so that's a quick way of doing that within, adding, pieces. It's a little bit like building openings. You just kind of build them horizontally and vertically until you have exactly what you want. All of these cabinets can be modified as far as, different, openings, different trim patterns, etc. So in this case here, I'm going to edit this cabinet, okay, on the right-hand side. And when I do that, I'm going to open up things like accessories, and I'm going to turn on the crown mold. Now, when I turn that on, I can pick from the profiles that are there, and we're actually adding the crown mold on the top. Okay, I can also, under accessories, go in here and change what the hardware is going to look like. So I could select, let's say, a pull pipe option on the actual hardware itself. Okay, and so as I do those options, okay, I could add, lighting under the counter or crown mold, lighting, above that. Okay, you can see that it applies, to that option there. And even shelving, because it's a glass, door, we may want to see shelving in there. And so you can see once again that it adds that to the model. Okay, and now it's just a matter of coming through and applying those same changes to the other cabinets within the plan. And so in this case here, once it's been applied to one, I can simply right click and repeat edit that same change to the other cabinets in the model. Okay, and we're not going to go through and make all of the hardware changes. We only have so much time in a seminar like this, but you can see if you've learned how to apply the hardware or the hardware as well as the crown molding and so on to one, it's the same for all of the others. Okay. All right, let me pull this back just a little bit so we can see what's going on. And I'm just going to come in here to my mode options and take a look, as far as I'm going to increase my lighting a little bit just to brighten things up. Okay, and the next thing that we're going to actually do is add more lighting to this. Okay, so inside the main floor plan, all right, and I'm still working within kitchen, I'm going to change into the electrical mode. So this is all being stored as part of the building options. And here I can select electrical symbols, and I'm going to come in through ceiling lights, and I'm going to pick the 6-inch can light. Now, ordinarily, you would probably, dimension these all into place, and that's recommended. For today, I'm just going to, draw a few in and then copy them into place, and we can, just envision that I had dimensioned them. So I put a couple of can lights there. I'm copying this down. I'm going to say that we want, 2 of these, and I'll equally space the distance between. So we now have 6 can lights. And I'm also going to come in here through, the symbol, and I'm just going to go to, I'll do a quick search for pendant, lights. And so it will pull up all of my, pendant lights that are available. So I can scroll through the list of manufacturers that are here, okay, or I can just simply have everything, pulled up, okay, under the all, and just begin to scroll through until I find something that I want to use. Okay, so, depending on, what it is that we're looking for, and I'm just trying to do a quick, let's find this one, maybe this Bosworth mini pendant. Okay, mainly because I like some of the things like the chain and all that. It allows for more detail to be shown. And so I will click to insert one here, and I'll do a similar thing where I'm just going to, click to add another one, equally space the distance and add a last one here. And of course, it's not quite over the sink. I drew the island a little bit differently than what I had in the original, and so I might offset that a little bit and pull this one in just so that we've got them looking a little more similar in terms of spacing. And the last thing that I would probably do is I'll also inside the drawing mode come in through here and select that I want to add a range hood. Okay, and so I'm just going to begin to type that in, and it will pull this up, and I can select from one of the range hoods that are here. And adding all of this is going to be key to also lighting the model, because as I pop into 3D, okay, all of these symbols will have lights attached to them that can be modified within the drawing. Okay, so let me take a look. Maybe I canceled that. I did. I didn't quite finish drawing that in. And so now as I come back into 3D, I'll have the range hood over top of that. All right. And so, I mean, this is us 40 minutes in to the model. So here I'm just going to move this down a little bit, okay, as opposed to, I could have edited. And then using the adjust feature, I'll probably, adjust the flue part of this up towards the actual ceiling. And then we'll talk a little bit about, modifying, the lighting and so on. And so in this case here, using adjust, pick the wall, so I'll just pick adjust and select this and then drag it up, okay, so that it's going all the way to the ceiling, and the crown mold will just butt into it. Okay. Now, as we for modifying of lighting and so on from the individual fixtures, one of the things that we upgraded this, okay, is to be able to go in and control the lighting by lumens, okay, as opposed to just a 1, 2, 3, 4 type number. So as I edit this light fixture right here, okay, I can go into the light and begin to turn on and adjust the number of lumens, okay, that this fixture is giving off, okay, things like how far it shines as far as the distance and the decay is concerned, and then repeat edit those same changes, okay, to the other light fixtures within the model. And this will give you a much more realistic, okay, so I'm just going through and repeat editing this within 3D, but it will give you a more realistic shadowing and so on with the model itself. If you're going to do this as far as your lighting is concerned, then certainly under the mode options, you're going to want to not have your brightness turned up artificially, but instead you'll be using the actual lights within the model, okay, to to light this itself, as opposed to what I had earlier where I was auto lighting the entire model itself. Okay, so this is this ambient light, I can turn that down. Okay, when you auto light things, all right, you at that stage now you start to get into, well, I'm not doing that, using the fixtures themselves. Okay, so here you can see I'm beginning to create the shadows in the light fixtures themselves. Now you can control this from within the actual plan itself, and so here I can edit this pot light that we've got here, or can light, and under the light I can turn on the custom, and again I can change everything about its its lumen, and then I'm just going to come in and do a repeat edit box over all of the light fixtures themselves, so that as I edit this now, okay, and I go in and take a look at it, it's actually set to a custom light and the number of lumens that are there. You could even change the color on this. So if you were going with a softer, non-white, lighting, so to speak, then that would, show that up for you as well. And so you can see that, you begin to get much more depth as far as, the options are concerned when you're using the lighting in that way. And I mean, again, I can, play around with a little bit of this to brighten it, slightly, but again, use the lights, and the options to make the modifications and changes from there. And so as I'm going to turn this kitchen layout off, and I'm going to turn number 2 on, which is just, a little more finish in the sense that I had the time to place stools and so on. Okay, I'm just going to take you in and show you a few things. Like, where did this finish come from that's here on the back wall? Well, inside the main floor plan, okay, this is added through interior mode. And so in this case right here, as I edit this, I actually have a wall covering stone tile that's there. And once that has been added, I can then just do a surface edit on this wall material. And I went down into the soft plan plus MOSA tile, and there is dozens and dozens of tile symbols to select from. Okay, so all of that can be added in there. The shelving that you see over here is just a rod and shelf. So when I came in, inside drawing mode and selected draw rod and shelf, I simply sketched it across, and then as I edit this rod and shelf, okay, I'll be able to then go in and modify its depth to only 9 inches, and I turned the rod off. Okay, and so that's another option that you can do within the model as well. Okay, and so that's, in a nutshell, pulling a kitchen together. One of the biggest and great features that we have, okay, that was added into Softplan version 2022, and I really want to show this to you, is as you modify some of these textures, 2 options that were added. One was called metalness and one was called roughness. And this metalness feature that is here, okay, will enhance the metallic feel of symbols. So in this case here, as I lower this down, you can see how it changes it on the model. As I increase, you can begin to see how that refrigerator becomes much more metallic looking and stainless steel. You see the roughness, which can be used on things like brick and so on. It can also be used on walls and surfaces as well to help with some of the, if you got a hot spot on your drawing, just by roughing that texture up just a little bit is going to help dissipate the light for you, on the model. Okay, and so that's another option that you can use within the software. Okay, if you've got something like this baseboard, or sorry, that crown mold that's running around and it looks a little bit gray, you can always increase, it's the emissiveness on that just to brighten it. It doesn't need to change a whole lot. Okay, but it's certainly, just by turning it up, is going to allow you to, not to be so gray, and the same similar for ceilings as well. So another item that can be modified and changed in there. And lastly, on the hardwood that's down here, of course, we have hundreds of textures that are in there. And again, just coming in here, your reflectivity, by turning that on and increasing it, is going to give you that reflection that you see of the window, of the stools, etc. And of course, the metalness will also enhance that to a degree. You're not trying to get a metallic finish as much as it just helps with the reflectivity on the model itself. And so even in this case here, I could modify and change this by doing a surface edit on this, and I could go to, if I wanted maybe something a little bit darker on the finish as far as the hardwood is concerned, you can see how just making that change, okay, the cabinets pop a little bit more. All right, and again, it all depends on what your personal preference is for the textures, but understand that we have thousands of symbols in there, and you have the ability to modify them yourself, okay, as far as the plan is concerned. Okay, as I said, I did record today, and so I will be, posting that to our YouTube website, where you'll be able to go in and take a look at, and see what we've done. The last thing that'll end is, use the building options. It gives you a great amount of ability to go in and, as I turn on kitchen number 1, you can see what the original cabinets and kitchen, layout were, and then you can always come into kitchen number 2 and offer that as an option for your clients to see. And there's really no end or limit as far as what you can do there. Okay, thank you for joining me today, and we will see you next time. We're offering another Friday Fundamental in August on outdoor living design.